Story 1. The Whispering Pines. Camping has always been my refuge, where the world's chaos fades into the rustle of leaves. Last summer, craving that peace, I drove to Blackwood Forest, a sprawling wilderness in northern Maine. I found a secluded spot by a murmuring creek, miles from any trail, where towering pines formed a dense canopy, their needles carpeting the earth. The air was thick with resin, the nights alive with stars. For 2 days, it was bliss. Hikes through fern-lined paths, the smoky crackle of my campfire, the solitude I needed. But on the third night, that bliss twisted into dread, and I realized I wasn't alone. It started with a sound. I was stirring beans over the fire when a twig snapped. Sharp, deliberate, maybe 50 yards away. My spoon froze. My heart lurched. The forest hummed with life, owls hooting, wind sighing. But this was different, heavy with purpose. "Hello? Who's there?" I called, my voice trembling, swallowed by the trees. Silence answered, but it wasn't empty. It pulsed with presence. I scanned the darkness, the fire's glow casting eerie shadows that danced like specters. I told myself it was a deer, a raccoon, but my skin prickled, as if unseen eyes were locked on me. Sleep evaded me that night. Every rustle outside my tent sent my hand to my pocket knife, its cold steel a meager comfort. I lay rigid, ears straining, picturing a figure circling just beyond the nylon walls. Dawn brought faint relief, but exhaustion weighed me down, my nerves frayed. Determined to shake the paranoia, I hiked to a ridge, the climb burning away some fear. The view, endless pines under a vast sky, was stunning, but when I returned at dusk, my campsite was wrong. The fire pit stones, haphazard that morning, were arranged in a perfect circle, each stone equidistant, unnaturally precise. Inside my tent, a neat stack of pine cones sat on my sleeping bag. I hadn't touched either. My stomach churned as I swept my flashlight across the trees, their branches swaying like silent sentinels. No footprints, no traces. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I'd kicked the stones in a daze, or a squirrel dragged the cones in. But the precision felt human, malicious. The next night, the whispers began. I was zipped in my tent, the fire long dead, when a low guttural murmur drifted through the darkness. It wasn't words, more a chant, rising and falling with the wind, chilling my bones. My breath caught. I fumbled for my flashlight, its beam shaking as I unzipped the flap. The light caught only pines, their needles glinting, and the creek's faint shimmer. The whispering stopped as I stepped out, leaving a silence so heavy it crushed me. I stood frozen, the forest looming, feeling utterly exposed. Back in the tent, sleep never came. My mind spun with visions of a figure lurking just out of sight, patient, predatory. By day 5, I was unraveling. The sense of being watched was a constant weight squeezing my chest. Shadows flickered at my periphery, vanishing when I turned. Food tasted like ash. I couldn't eat. That evening, as I boiled water, I saw it. A crude figure dangling from a branch above my tent. Twigs bound with twine formed a body, its pine cone head tilted, arms bent at grotesque angles. My hands shook as I tore it down, its brittle form crumbling. I hurled it into the fire, flames hissing as they devoured it. Then came the laugh, a low, mocking chuckle from the darkness, unmistakably human. My blood froze. "Who's there? Stop it!" I screamed, my voice cracking. The forest swallowed my plea. I sat by the fire until dawn, knife in hand, every sound a threat. I packed at first light, my movements frantic, my eyes darting to the trees. The forest felt alive, hostile, its silence a trap. As I hiked out, the sensation of eyes on my back was unbearable, each step heavier. Halfway to my car, I stopped cold. Another twig figure leaned against a tree, a scrap of my red bandana, missing since yesterday, tied around its neck. My legs burned as I ran, branches clawing my skin, my breath ragged. I didn't look back, certain I heard footsteps matching mine. Reaching my car, I locked the doors, hands trembling as I sped away, the forest shrinking in my rear view. I haven't camped since. Blackwood haunts me. At night, I hear that whisper, faint, insidious, like it's in my walls. I check my locks obsessively, sleep with lights on, terrified that whoever, or whatever stalked me is still out there. They wanted me to know they were watching, and I'm horrified they're still close, waiting for me to falter. Story 2, The Lake's Edge. I've always been too trusting, a trait my friends teased me for. I never thought a camping trip would prove them right in the worst way. 2 years ago, I joined 5 friends for a weekend at Lake Harrow, a remote gem in the Oregon Cascades. The lake was a mirror, reflecting jagged peaks, the air sharp with pine and mist. We pitched our tents in a grassy clearing by the shore, our laughter echoing as we roasted marshmallows. The first night was perfect, the fire's glow warm against the chill. But by the second day, that warmth turned to ice, and I learned what it means to be hunted. It started that first night. As we swapped stories around the fire, I spotted a light across the lake, a faint, erratic glow darting through the trees. It moved too fast, too purposefully, to be a hiker. Probably another camper, Sarah said, her voice unsteady. We watched, transfixed, until it vanished, the darkness thicker for it. Unease settled in my gut, but I buried it, focusing on the fire's crackle. Morning brought a chilling discovery, boot prints, heavy and uneven, circling our tents. They wove between our gear, pausing near my tent's flap, then trailed to the water's edge, as if someone had stood there, watching us sleep. My throat tightened. Jake, our group's tough guy, scoffed, but his knuckles whitened around his hatchet. That afternoon, a man appeared. He stepped from the woods, wiry, maybe 40, in a stained flannel shirt, his eyes unblinking, too bright. "Name's Tom," he said, his voice slick, like oil on water. He claimed he was camping nearby, just wanted to say hi. His smile was too wide, his gaze lingering on each of us, cataloging. My skin crawled. We politely declined his offer to join us for dinner, saying we were keeping it small. "Suit yourselves," he said, still smiling, and melted back into the trees. I watched him go, my heart pounding, the forest swallowing him like a secret. Something about him felt predatory, wrong. That night, terror gripped me. Around midnight, I woke to footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching the grass outside my tent. They circled, pausing inches from my head where I heard breathing, shallow, controlled. My heart thundered. I clutched my sleeping bag, paralyzed, praying they'd move on. The steps faded, but then a low whistle began, a haunting, tuneless melody from the lake. It stretched on, each note a needle in my spine. I wanted to scream, to wake the others, but fear glued me in place. When it stopped, the silence was worse, heavy with menace. We barely spoke at dawn, our faces pale, eyes darting to the trees. Daylight revealed our cooler ransacked, food strewn across the grass, cans punctured. One of our knives, a heavy hunting blade, was embedded in a tree, a note pinned beneath it scrawled in jagged letters. "See you tonight." My knees buckled. Jake, stubborn, insisted on confronting Tom, and though my instincts screamed to flee, we searched the woods. We found his camp, or its remnants. A tattered tarp sagged between trees, a fire pit smoldered, and a pile of bones lay nearby, some fresh, glistening with sinew, others bleached by time. No Tom, but his boot prints matched ours. My stomach churned. I gagged at the smell of decay. We packed in a frenzy, shoving gear into bags, our voices sharp with panic. The lake, once beautiful, felt like a trap, its calm surface mocking us. As we hiked to the trailhead, I kept glancing back, expecting him to lunge from the trees. At the parking lot, I saw him, standing by the lake, motionless, that sickening smile plastered on his face. He raised a hand, waving slowly, deliberately, as if we'd meet again. We piled into our cars, tires screeching as we sped to the ranger station, our story spilling out in a frantic jumble. The prints, the bones, the note. The rangers searched but found no camp, no Tom, no trace. They said we were lucky to escape. His face haunts me. That unblinking stare, that smile, seared into my nightmares. Sometimes, late at night, I hear a faint whistle outside my apartment, and my blood runs cold. I sleep with a bat by my bed, terrified he's out there, watching, waiting for me to drop my guard. Story 3, The Deserted Valley. I thought the desert would be safe, open, exposed, no shadows for danger to hide. After a brutal year, I needed solitude. So last spring, I drove to a remote valley in Nevada. The landscape was stark. Red rocks, sparse scrub, a dry riverbed twisting through under an endless sky. I pitched my tent near the riverbed, the only sounds the wind's mournful howl and distant coyote cries. The vastness was cleansing. I felt my burdens lift. But by the third night, that peace shattered, and the desert revealed a terror I'll never escape. It started with my radio, an old battery-powered relic I'd brought for comfort but hadn't used. On the second night, as I read by lantern light, it crackled to life, unprompted. Static hissed, then a voice, male, distorted, repeating, "You're not alone." My heart stopped. I lunged for it, ripping out the batteries, my hands shaking. The voice died, but its echo lingered, chilling me. I stepped outside, flashlight sweeping the valley. Moonlight glinted off rocks, revealing nothing but emptiness. I told myself it was a signal bleed, a prank, but the air felt thick, charged with malice. Morning brought worse. Barefoot human tracks circled my camp, deep in the dust, as if someone had stood there for hours. My throat closed. I was 20 miles from the nearest road, alone, with no cell signal. The prints were fresh, toes splayed unnaturally. I checked my gear, my food, my water. Everything was untouched, but the violation was palpable. That night, the radio sparked again, batteries still out. The voice was clearer. "I see you." I smashed it with a rock, sobbing, shards scattering in the dirt. The words burrowed into me, inescapable. By day 4, I was unraveling. The sense of being watched was constant, a weight crushing my chest. Shapes flickered in the distance, tall, thin, vanishing when I blinked. The wind carried whispers, too faint to decipher, yet unmistakably human. I found more tracks, closer, and a single word scratched into my tent flap. "Run." My hands trembled as I packed, my mind screaming to flee. As I hiked out, footsteps echoed behind me, matching my pace. I spun around, nothing but dust and sky. The air pulsed with intent, like the desert itself was stalking me. Halfway to my car, I found a spiral of my belongings. Socks, a water bottle, my journal, arranged in the dirt. I hadn't lost them. They were in my tent yesterday. My legs gave way. I scrambled up, running, the footsteps louder, faster. The valley seemed to close in, rocks looming like sentinels. I reached my car at dusk, locking the doors as I sped off. In my rear view, a figure stood in the road. Too tall, too still, inhuman. I didn't stop until the highway, tears streaming, my heart pounding. I don't camp anymore. The desert's silence follows me. At night, I hear that voice. I see you, and check my windows, terrified. Whatever stalked me wasn't human, and I'm horrified it's still out there, watching, waiting for me to return.